Hi, boys and girls. I have a read aloud for us today in honor of the end of our first grade school year together. This story is called Last Day Blues. And I want you to think for a minute about that color blue and what it means when we use it in a sentence like that, Last Day Blues. So you probably came up with in your head, maybe you didn't, that when we talk about having the blues, blue is usually associated with that feeling of sadness. So this story is kind of how I'm feeling today because our first grade year has come to an end. But the way that I'm making myself feel better is that I know that I am only an email away from you. Again, if you want to send me a message on Teams or you want to send me a letter in the mail, please make sure you do that because I'm here and I love to hear from you. So this is called Last Day Blues. It was written by Julie Danberg and the illustrations were done by Judy Love. Last Day Blues. On the Monday morning before the Friday, which was the last day of school, Mrs. Hartwell took attendance. She sighed as she called out the last name. I'm going to miss you all. The kids nodded, all in agreement. I'm going to miss my friends, said Shannon. I'm going to miss Daisy, said Dan.
I'm going to miss chocolate milk and pizza for lunch, said Joe.
Everyone felt a little blue thinking about the last day of school. Even Daisy felt blue. When you look at this illustration, figure out who Daisy is. So you probably saw that Daisy was the class pet, and you wouldn't have known that unless you really looked at those pictures. Pictures are so important in stories. That afternoon during recess, the students talked as they hung out on the jungle gym. Mrs. Hartwell said she's going to miss us, said Alexandra, swinging from the monkey bars. Well, we better get a present to cheer her up, said Eddie, who was hanging upside down by his knees. Kids are sure having fun on the playset, just like we have fun in that beautiful playset that we are lucky enough to have at Harris Hill. What was your favorite part in the playset? Well, I could give her the rest of my sandwich. It's my mother's bologna special, said Josh. Or a cup of coffee or a new pen, the kind with feathers and beads. Well, the students thought and thought and thought, but they couldn't come up with one single idea that they all agreed on. We'll think of something tomorrow, Eddie assured everyone as they lined up at the drinking fountain. Boy, they're all trying to think of something for their teacher. You know, in our classroom, the only gift I need from you is trying your best and being good and kind to each other, right? On the Tuesday before the Friday that was the last day of school, Mrs. Hartwell read the final page of their last read-aloud book. I'm going to miss circle time so much, said Mrs. Hartwell. I'm going to miss science, said Emily. I'm going to miss seeing Mrs. Hartwell wearing her safety goggles during science, said Jack, giggling. And so before they got too sad, Mrs. Hartwell put on her safety goggles one last time just for fun. Oh, I think I know why they like seeing her like that. She looks kind of silly. She sure looks friendly. Look at her smile. We definitely need to cheer Mrs. Hartwell up, said Andy during recess as he jumped out of the swing. Does anybody have any ideas about a gift for her? Nope, they all answered back. Boy, I love those tire swings. You know, we used to have a tire swing at Harris Hill, but it tended to make kids a little sick to their stomach after lunchtime when they would get on the tire swing, so we had to get rid of it. On the Wednesday before the Friday that was the last day of school, Mrs. Hartwell brought in her super duper sugar cookies with extra frosting. I'm gonna miss snack time, but I can't wait for barbecues by the pool, said Jack. I'm gonna miss recess, but I can't wait to play hide and seek outside after dinner, said Alexandra. I'm gonna miss school, but I can't wait for summer. Vacation, said Josh. The class discussed their summer plans and drowned their last day blues with another round of milk and sugar cookies. You know, boys and girls, what I think is happening is these kids are feeling bittersweet. Bittersweet means something that isn't so happy and something that's happy. So they're not feeling happy about school ending, but there's so many things to look forward to, and that's the sweet part. So that's bittersweet. I don't know whether to be happy or sad today, Andy said the minute they all arrived on the jungle gym that day. Mrs. Hartwell's sad, said Olivia. She probably doesn't want the year to end. While we're swimming, she's going to be reading her old lesson plans, said Walker. And while we're playing, she'll be trying to remember the fun times we had this year, said Dan. And that's when an idea zip-zapped and zinged through Eddie's brain. I know exactly what's going to cheer her up, Eddie said, jumping down from the jungle gym. And the class agreed it was perfect. Now, boys and girls, I want you to make a prediction. Remember, a prediction is a thoughtful guess about what's going to happen in the story. What do you think the kids are going to plan to give to a present to their teacher? So on the Thursday, before the Friday, that was the last day of school, Eddie raised his hand right after Mrs. Hartwell started language arts class. We need some privacy, please, he said. And so Mrs. Hartwell took down the bulletin boards and kept her back to the class. She never even peeked once. Well, maybe just once. I mean, friends, she has to peek. Can you imagine if she never peeked? What if some kids were goofing around? Now, that would never happen in our class. So on the morning of the Friday that was the last day of school, the students dashed into the classroom. They snapped open the shades for the very last time. They did their chores for the very last time. They fed Daisy for the very last time. And as soon as the bell rang, they couldn't wait for Mrs. Hartwell to see her present for the very first time. All righty, do you have your idea? Okay, my idea is that they each drew a picture of their favorite part of school that year. And then the room mom, like Olivia's mom is our room mom, the room mom took all of those things and put them together in a book. Kind of like the book that you guys gave me and I got on my teacher parade with the fire trucks. So that's what my idea is. Here it is. This is what they gave her. It looks like some type of poem or letter, and I'm about to read it to you. The last day of school makes us so blue. We'll miss recess and pizza and reading too. We'll miss Daisy and cookies and friendship true. Snack time and science and learning new. We'll miss spelling bees for our test review and groundhogs that play peekaboo. The year's been great, a big wahoo! But there are many things to miss, it's true. But mostly, what we'll miss is you. So they wrote about all the different things they're going to miss, and they have little illustrations on the border. Oh, that's so nice. She's totally going to remember their year. So later on during recess, Eddie said, "Oh, I think Mrs. Hartwell liked her present. I just hope it helps," Margaret said. Poor Mrs. Hartwell, they all said sadly as they pictured their final goodbye. Boy, teachers must hate the last day of school. So this is what they think the teachers are doing on their last day of school. Crying, sobbing, miserable. Don't go, boys and girls. So do you think that's what the teachers are doing? Do you think when you pull out they're crying and sobbing? Or do you think it's bittersweet for teachers too? Do you think teachers are sad to have their year end with you, but they have some sweet things ahead that they're excited for? And then it was time. The bell rang. Goodbye, the students called as they rushed out the door. Goodbye, Mrs. Hartwell called after them. And then she returned to her empty classroom. Well, it's just you and me, Daisy, she said. I'm sure going to miss those kids this summer. I think a zinger's coming. You know, like Robert Munsch does the zingers at the end of his books? I think this author's doing that too. But, she said, I can't wait for summer vacation. And here she is with all of her colleagues or her teacher friends, and they're doing a conga line down the hall. Can you just see? Can you see me going down the hall dancing like this? Mr. Nelson's behind me, Mrs. Bonchek's behind him, maybe Mrs. Hand, Mrs. McAlpine, maybe Mr. LeBeau. It's a funny thing to picture in your mind. And there is her teacher. Looks like she's with her husband and their dog, and they are having summer adventures. Boys and girls, I am going to miss you this summer. Makes me a little sad. I am going to miss you, but I have a lot of special things planned this summer. I'm excited to be with my family and my friends, and I will see you in the fall, big second grader.